You brought this up in our group chat last week, and I had something come up late, so we couldn't do the show. This was going to be our original first topic of the show last week and today. Uh, the Cavs went for a little bit of a skid on their West Coast trip, causing a little bit of a concern for my partner that I'm staring at right across the screen.
Yes.
Um, but the fact of the matter is, to me, there are 6 games left in the regular season. The Cavs are up 4 games on the Boston Celtics. They're almost seemingly barring unless they lose their last 6 and Boston wins their last 6. Is pretty much the only way the Cavs would fall to the number 1 seed. Kenny Atkinson came out. I can't remember if it was after the Portland game or the Detroit game Friday night, and basically said, I don't care about the regular season anymore. I'm resting guys and we're getting guys ready for the playoffs, which I think is the right approach. I am not worried at all about this slide. The only negative part about this for me is the Cavs have lost the potential of home court advantage throughout the NBA playoffs if they were indeed to meet Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals.
Yes. Which I got to see OKC
You did.
live and in person.
The last game of Taylor Jenkins' NBA career with the Memphis Grizzlies.
That part is true. Um, but it was just like I never said I was hitting the panic button, just to clarify. I only said I was getting it out of my pocket and like putting it on the table. Just
But I want to hear why.
yeah.
Like why?
So it's because of like the quality of teams they were losing to. Orlando, the Clippers. The Clippers have proven to be,
Hey, number 2, the robot is back and playing well.
Yes, but it's getting close to playoff time. He'll find a way to get injured climbing up the stairs or by bumping into a wall.
He probably will. Oh, my knee hurts today. I don't feel good. I got to be out 6 more months. Like,
yeah, but that's what I'm. But like that's his history. But anyway, like losing to Orlando and the Clippers and Sacramento and oh God, Phoenix is a disaster. But like all those teams, and I'll exclude Detroit because they're number 5 in the East right now.
JB Bickerstaff started the fight with his own team. They almost knocked the Team Wolves out.
Yes. But it's just like I didn't love the idea of losing to 4 consecutive play-in tournament teams. That just didn't sit well with me. The way we lost that Orlando game, I felt like in that game we just got 2 3-pointer happy. And with the Clippers in that first matchup, we kind of just let Kawhi and Paul George run wild. Sacramento, the Kings are in a weird spot. They had fired Mike Brown, so it was just like the way we were losing these games and who they were losing to. I was just like, yeah, I'm not really vibing with this right now. I get it, like, unless something drastic happens, we're going to get the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I understand that, but and we're going to start resting guys. I take all that into consideration.
I think that's a big factor that, like, Mobley's been out of game here and there. Allen missed the game. Mitchell missed the game. They have not played full and whole with everybody, on the court in probably a week and a half.
Yes. By the way, I was at that Clippers game on Sunday. I feel like that this Cavs team needed that type of game.
Yes. And I think they do have this weird, like, we can turn it on defensively and go on the Cavaliers and, do a Golden State Warriors thing and outscore you 15-0 like that, and it can be over. I think this team will lock in come playoff time. I think Kenny has sort of, and right or wrongly, I think this team, along with Kenny, has sort of checked out a little bit of the regular season where they're not playing as hard. I think they will focus in starting that Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever they find out who their first round opponent will be, which will be the winner of the 8-9 second play-in game, which will be likely, I would guess, Atlanta or Miami.
I do not want to play either one of them in the first round. No, thank you.
Okay. I'll put another Dr. Pepper bet here that the Cavs will lose no more than 2 games before they reach the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't know. There's just something about going against Trae Young. And I'm like, no.
That little twerp who we can put Evan Mobley and Jared Allen on and destroy him in playoff basketball when the rules are different. Yeah, I'll take my chances.
We lost to the Hawks in the play.
I don't care. We lost to them 3 years ago before we had Donovan Mitchell. Like,
we had Donovan Mitchell when we got to the play-in tournament against the Hawks.
No, we didn't. That was the year after.
Was it?
That was the Colin Sexton year when Sexton got hurt. And we faced them off. Atlanta got to the first round. They got demolished by, it might have been Milwaukee. Or no, that was Miami. That was 22. That was when Miami made the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Then that offseason in September, we trade for Mitchell. Then the next year, we lose to the Knicks in 5 as the 4th seed.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, yeah, you're right, because we had Larry Markin and, yeah, you're right.
So,
my bad.
I'm not concerned about them at all. Play-in tournaments like March Madness is 1 game. First round playoffs is a series. You make adjustments in series, and we would kill them in a series. And Miami, I don't know how they're doing this without Jimmy Butler, but they need a tank for Cooper Flag. They don't need to make the playoffs. Like, it'd be a waste of time. I'm sorry. Like, all of these teams, Atlanta, Miami, even Orlando, I like Pablo Banchero, but they would have no shot against Cleveland or Boston. You're wasting your time making the playoffs.
Orlando, I think, is a better team, but they've just been snake bit by injuries.
They can't shoot. I mean, the 1 game against Cleveland, they shot okay, and that's why they beat us, because Donovan Mitchell had maybe his worst game in 4 months. But that's the only reason. It was again, that's why March Madness has upsets, because it's 1 game.
Well, not this year. March Madness has not had upsets.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I find this next topic so fascinating. And I love the fact that you came up with this topic, because this is such a you topic, and it's a compliment for that. So, this year, if you recall, when the season started, I had projected the Houston Rockets to be last year's Orlando Magic or Oklahoma City Thunder. That team that came out of nowhere, nobody expected, young team, Sengun, Ahmed Thompson, who's been way better than even I projected, and Jalen Green. And Ime Udoka leading the charge, and they're going to be anywhere between like 2 and 5 in that Western Conference. Meanwhile, the Detroit Pistons picked up who I called the worst head coach in the history of basketball as their head coach, and have went from one of the worst seasons in NBA history with what's his name? Monty Williams is the head coach, who I thought got a bad rep in Phoenix. Turns out he didn't know how to coach. And JB Bickerstaff has taken Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart and that crew, along with Tobias Harris, all the way to the 6th seed, and there will be no doubt.
They're actually the 5 seed right now.
Are they? Who they pass? Indiana?
Milwaukee.
Wow. So I haven't looked at the standings in a little bit. So Milwaukee has fallen off, presumably without Damian Lillard.
Right now, the first round matchup would be Pacers-Pistons as the 4-5.
Okay, that's a win for the Cavs. That needs to stay like that. That's a win for the Cavs, whoever they would play in the second round. And, the fact that they are the 5 seed, like, listen, you could have seen Houston coming, maybe not as much as I did, but they were on the rise at the end of last year. Nobody saw this Pistons team being legitimately a 5 seed at this point in the season in the East. And so, as much as I hate their coach, for that reason, they are the better story this year.
Yeah, I will. You know what this version of the Pistons reminds me of, especially after what happened in that Minnesota game. It reminds me of like they're trying to go back to the bad boy Pistons almost.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say the Palace of the Malice.
Malice at the Palace, yeah.
The Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, that team in those years that won the 2004 championship.
Yeah, and I can understand why you'd say that. I think you can make a fair comparison for either version of the Pistons, but this is what Detroit basketball is all about.
And by the way, them being good at basketball is good for the NBA. It feels right to me when the Pistons are good and they have a good rivalry with the Cavs. So by all means, JB, continue to scream at your players until you eventually fall out of pocket in the second round, and then they have to fire you. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Pistons. I can't believe they're in this position. The problem they have, though, is, Houston, they have a bunch of young stars. They just don't know who their number one guy is. I like Cade Cunningham, and Jay Ivey, even though he's been hurt this year, is a pretty good player. But outside of Cunningham, they need to go get another bona fide stud. And I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah. So Houston has a gigantic game this Friday because they host Oklahoma City. That's going to be a fantastic matchup. Two young teams. You got right now they're the 1 and 2 seeds in the West. Maybe it's a preview of the Western Conference Finals, but who knows right now?
Yeah, and you could say it's disrespectful to the Rockets because they're about as young as Oklahoma City, but there's just something about the Rockets where I just feel like they're a year away. And I feel like they're going to go up against a veteran team like Denver or the Lakers or even a Golden State, and a Steph, a LeBron, a Jokic, a Luka, even Jimmy Butler would sort of just take that series over from the young guys. I think the only way they make it out of the first round is if they were to play Memphis. That to me feels like more of an even series.
I'd love to see them face Minnesota in the first round. I think that would be
I would probably tend to favor Minnesota, even though they haven't been playing as better over the course of the season. They are red hot right now.
That would be a must-see TV. I think that series would be a 7-game barn burner.
But did you answer this question on the screen? Who's having the better season?
Or who's been the better story?
Yeah.
I'm slightly going to favor Houston here.
Wow, okay.
Slightly. I'd say it's like 51-49, so not by much. But, did I see the Rockets coming? Yes. But to put themselves in top 3, no. I thought they'd be more in, the 4 to 6 range.
Well, they still could be. So that's the thing, because the West is so bottled up. I'm saying I saw Houston more in that range, more so than I did Detroit coming up to this.
That part I agree with, but and maybe I'm reading too much into where they are now, but to see them neither team has that true superstar yet. I think Amen Thompson can become that for the Rockets.
I could make an argument, but maybe it's Sengun.
Yeah. And for Detroit, you could say Cade Cunningham could become that. But they don't really have anybody else that you're like, oh, he could become a star caliber player. But I don't know. There's just something about the Rockets and the way they're playing right now. I look at them and I'm I think they're a little bit of a better story.
Fair enough.